These are the richest black families that own Louisiana, and they only get crazier as we move. We're talking about a family that fed the entire civil rights movement out of a single restaurant in New Orleans. A family that turned a $10,000 settlement check into a $400 million a year empire. And a family that has been burying New Orleans royalty since 1883, quietly accumulating the kind of generational wealth that doesn't show up on Forbes. Let's get into it. Number 10. The Chase family. We begin in the heart of Trem, with a family whose wealth can't be measured in dollars alone because the Chase family doesn't just own money, they own a cultural command center. The late legendary Leah Chase ran Dookie Chase's restaurant, founded in 1941, and what looked like a neighborhood spot was actually the headquarters of a revolution. To really understand what the Chases built, you have to understand the currency of the civil rights era. During the 1960s, it was illegal for black and white people to mix in public spaces. But inside the walls of Dookie Chase's, specifically in that upstairs meeting room, the rules of the Jim Crow South simply didn't apply. When Thurgood Marshall came to New Orleans, he ate here. When Martin Luther King Jr. passed through, he sat at these tables. The Freedom Riders organized here. The NAACP strategized here over fried chicken and gumbo. And the Chase family kept feeding the revolutionaries, often for free, while quietly stacking a kind of social capital that made them untouchable for generations. That's not a restaurant. That's a war room with better food. Economically, the Chases represent the resilience of the New Orleans black middle class. Their real asset isn't the menu, it's the access. Presidents from George W. Bush to Barack Obama have come through those doors looking for authentic connection to the community. That's relationship capital at its highest possible valuation, and it's the kind of thing money can't simply buy. The younger generation, led by Edgar Dookie Chase IV, has smartly expanded into airport concessions and catering, placing the family's heritage brand in front of millions of international travelers every year at Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport. That move alone was a masterclass in brand strategy. Take a local legend and put it where the whole world walks by. But the defining moment? Hurricane Katrina. When the storm hit in 2005, the restaurant sat under feet of water. Developers circled like sharks, ready to buy out distressed black landowners and flip the neighborhood. The Chase family said no. They rebuilt from scratch, refused to sell, and stood their ground in Trem while everyone around them folded. Number 9. The Marsalis family. Now, if the Chases feed the body of New Orleans, the Marsalis family owns its soul. In a city that practically runs on music, this family isn't just part of the scene. They are the royal court. The patriarch, the late Ellis Marsalis Jr., was a jazz pianist and educator who didn't just raise children. He raised a conglomerate of talent that has dominated global music for over 4 decades. And this is not just about playing instruments beautifully. This is about the full monetization of high art. Wynton Marsalis is the artistic director of jazz at Lincoln Center in New York, a role that carries serious institutional power and serious financial weight. He oversees an annual budget exceeding $50 million and manages one of the most prestigious cultural real estate holdings in all of Manhattan. He was also the first jazz musician in history to win the Pulitzer Prize for Music, which effectively moved jazz into the same intellectual and financial tax bracket as classical music. That's not a small thing, that's a cultural reclassification with real economic consequences. Then there's Branford Marsalis, Grammy-winning saxophonist, band leader, and the man who famously fronted The Tonight Show band during the Jay Leno era. Network television money in that era wasn't just comfortable, it was institutional. Delfio and Jason Marsalis round out a dynasty that has collectively gathered enough Grammys to fill a warehouse and enough touring revenue to rival a small corporation. But here's what separates the Marsalis family from most entertainment dynasties. They didn't just leave New Orleans behind once the money came, they brought investment back. The Ellis Marsalis Center for Music in the 9th Ward is a multi-million-dollar facility and a monument to their father. More than that, it anchored the Musicians' Village, a Habitat for Humanity project that built homes for musicians who lost everything in Katrina. That's how you convert fame into actual infrastructure. That's how you turn a Grammy into a neighborhood. Number 8. The Charbonnet family. In New Orleans, death isn't just an ending. It's a business, a parade, and a ceremony. And the family that controls that ceremony holds a very specific and very powerful position in the social order. Meet the Charbonnet family, proprietors of Charbonnet-l'Abbaye Funeral Home in Trem. This is old money in the truest, deepest sense. The funeral home was founded in 1883. Think about that for a second. This Black-owned business has been operating continuously for over 140 years, surviving Reconstruction, Jim Crow, the Great Depression, and Hurricane Katrina. There are countries younger than this family's business. To really appreciate what they built, you have to look at the economics of segregation. White banks wouldn't lend to Black people. White insurance companies wouldn't insure them. In that environment, the Black funeral director was often the only person in the community with significant liquid cash flow and the ability to navigate bureaucracy on behalf of Black families. They became de facto bankers, community leaders, and financial lifelines all in one. The Charbonnets handle funerals for the city's elite, musicians, cultural icons, community pillars. When a jazz funeral rolls through the streets of Trem with horse-drawn carriages, a brass band, and hundreds of people second-lining behind the casket, it is often the Charbonnets orchestrating the entire production. And these are not simple, low-margin affairs. A high-end New Orleans jazz funeral is a massive logistical operation involving permits, bands, carriages, catering, and receptions. The economics of one of these events can rival a high-end wedding. The Charbonnets have held the contract on dignity in this city for nearly a century and a half. You won't see them flexing on social media. Their wealth is quiet, structural, and deeply rooted. Their historic building on St. Philip Street is a fortress of Black ownership sitting in one of the most rapidly gentrifying neighborhoods in America. They own the land, they own the history, and they control the process of transition itself. Number 7. The McKenna family. Dr. Dwight McKenna and his wife Beverly McKenna are a power couple who have built a diversified portfolio that bridges medicine, media, and history. And they've done it with a level of sophistication that most people never see coming. Dr. McKenna is a prominent physician and former coroner, but the family's real influence runs through the New Orleans Tribune, which they founded in 1985. It's one of the most respected Black-owned newspapers in the country. But here's the real flex. They didn't just start a newspaper. They deliberately revived the name of the first Black daily newspaper in American history, originally published in 1864. In doing so, they positioned themselves as the continuation of a lineage of Black resistance and Black journalism that goes back over 160 years. Owning a media outlet gives the McKennas a type of leverage that very few families have. They can elevate stories the mainstream press ignores, champion Black businesses, and hold politicians publicly accountable in ways that a private conversation simply cannot. That media capital converts directly into political influence, and political influence converts into business access. It's a flywheel that keeps spinning. But their wealth isn't just editorial. They own substantial real estate in New Orleans, including Le Musée de FPC, the Museum of the Free People of Color. They purchased a mansion on Esplanade Avenue, historically a street reserved for the white elite, and filled it with artwork, documents, and artifacts that mainstream museums had long overlooked. We're talking original manumission papers, passports of free people of color from the 1800s, and rare artwork that is genuinely priceless. By privately owning this history, they ensure it cannot be erased, rewritten, or buried. The McKennas represent the intersection of professional excellence and community advocacy at its most intentional. They control the media, they own the history, and they ensure the story of Black wealth in Louisiana is told by the people who actually built it. Number 6. The Kokum family. Now we move from old-world cultural influence into modern corporate dominance. If you're driving through New Orleans, there's a solid chance you're moving through the territory of Henry L. Kokum Jr. And Henry Kokum is not just a franchise owner, he is a full-scale mogul. As the head of Kokum Enterprises, he owns and operates a large network of McDonald's restaurants across the region. Don't let the word franchise make you think small. In the world of real business, owning high-volume McDonald's locations in one of America's top tourist cities is the equivalent of owning a gold mine with proven reserves. The barrier to entry is steep. McDonald's requires serious liquid capital before they'll even talk to you. Getting in means you've already proven yourself. Kokum's path to that point is a story worth studying. He started as a manager trainee in 1984. He bought his first store in 2002. Today, his organization employs hundreds of people and generates tens of millions in annual revenue. This is the power of mastering a system. Kokum didn't have to invent a product or build a brand from zero. He took a globally proven operation and executed it with local precision, at scale, consistently. And that consistency turned into an empire. But his power extends well beyond the drive-through window. He sits on the boards of the city's most influential institutions, shaping economic development and policy in rooms where New Orleans' financial future actually gets decided. He's a key player in the Business Council of New Orleans. And that kind of access doesn't come from selling burgers. It comes from being someone the city needs at the table. When Katrina destroyed his restaurants, Kokum didn't pack up. He rebuilt, sometimes opening his doors before the rest of the city had fully recovered, providing food and Wi-Fi to residents and relief workers who had nowhere else to go. His flagship location on Canal Street became a symbol of something bigger than fast food. Number 5. The Henry family. There are people who build buildings, and then there are people who decide where the buildings go, how much they cost, who finances them, and who benefits when they're done. Troy Henry and his family fall firmly into the second category. As the founder of Henry Consulting, Troy Henry is arguably the most influential black business strategist in the state of Louisiana. And this is a different kind of wealth than what we've seen so far. This is technocratic wealth, the kind that operates in the background, moves the biggest pieces, and almost never shows up in a headline. Henry Consulting is a management firm that handles the heavy lifting for multi-million and billion-dollar projects. We're talking about the kinds of deals that literally reshape skylines. Troy has a background in engineering and corporate management at Fortune 500 companies, including IBM. He brought that level of expertise back to New Orleans and plugged it directly into the city's infrastructure. His firm has been involved in major undertakings including the redevelopment of the World Trade Center New Orleans and the management of significant public-private partnerships that require expertise across engineering, finance, law, and politics simultaneously. Most people can do one of those things well. The Henrys can do all four at once. And crucially, they don't just earn consulting fees, they own equity. They have stakes in real estate, fuel distribution, and development ventures. They were key players in the Bayou Sterling investments, which focused on bringing quality grocery retail to underserved neighborhoods. That's the move of someone who understands that doing good and doing well don't have to be separate strategies. What makes the Henry family uniquely powerful is their ability to navigate the specific and complex world of government contracting and private equity simultaneously. They are the bridge between City Hall and Wall Street. When a new bridge needs to be built, when a historic site needs redevelopment, when public money needs private management, the Henrys are often the ones drafting the blueprint and counting the zeros. They are the structural engineers of Louisiana's economy itself. Number 4. The Williams brothers. It's time to leave the boardrooms and head straight to the block. Specifically, the Magnolia projects in New Orleans, where two brothers turned a hustle into a billion-dollar legacy. Bryan "Birdman" Williams and Ronald "Slim" Williams are not just rappers. They are arguably the most successful record executives in the history of hip-hop. And when we say wealth here, we mean liquid, documented, transformational wealth on a scale that is genuinely hard to comprehend. The Williams brothers didn't just build a successful label. They revolutionized the entire business model of the music industry with one specific piece of paper. In 1998, when artists across the country were signing their rights away for a quick advance, Birdman and Slim sat across from Universal Records and negotiated something nobody had ever pulled off before. A $30 million advance combined with the right to keep 85% of their royalties. They kept their masters. They kept their publishing. They kept the overwhelming majority of what they created. That's the deal that changed everything. Because when Juvenile sold millions, when Lil Wayne sold tens of millions, when Drake and Nicki Minaj went on to become two of the biggest names in music, the bulk of that money flowed directly back to New Orleans. They weren't working for the label. They were the label. Birdman's personal net worth has been estimated as high as $150 million, and the combined revenue generated by Cash Money Records over 3 decades likely surpasses $500 million gross. They put the phrase bling bling in the Oxford English Dictionary. But their spending was never just about ego, it was marketing. The Bugattis, the diamond teeth, the custom jewelry, the mansions, all of it created a lifestyle brand that sold records by the truckload. Look past the surface and you'll find Slim Williams, the quieter brother, who is widely regarded as the business brain behind the operation. Someone with a sharp investment mind who has been quietly diversifying the family's wealth for years. Together they proved that 2 kids from one of the most dangerous housing projects in America could outnegotiate the largest music corporations in the world without a law degree between them. They just understood the game well enough to rewrite the rules. Number 3. The McDonald family. While the Williams brothers were making the money, the McDonald family was the institution quietly making sure Black Louisiana could keep it. Alden McDonald is the CEO of Liberty Bank, and his family represents the financial backbone of Black Louisiana. Founded in 1972, Liberty Bank is one of the largest Black-owned banks in the United States, with assets now exceeding $1 billion. Alden McDonald has led the institution for over 50 years, a tenure that is almost unheard of in banking, anywhere, at any level. His son Todd is now stepping into the role, ensuring the dynasty continues well into the next generation. This is institutional wealth, and it functions differently from every other kind of wealth on this list. Liberty Bank isn't just a place to deposit a check. It's a tool for community survival. For decades, Black entrepreneurs across the South couldn't get loans from mainstream banks. Black families couldn't get mortgages in their own neighborhoods. Liberty Bank stepped into that gap and filled it, financing thousands of first-time homeowners and small business owners who the traditional system had written off. When Katrina hit, the bank was literally underwater. Headquarters and data centers flooded. Most community banks in that situation simply fold. The McDonalds didn't fold. They operated out of trailers. They fought for federal assistance. And then, when the dust settled, they didn't just rebuild, they expanded. They went on an acquisition run, buying banks in Kansas City, Detroit, and Jackson, Mississippi, turning a New Orleans institution into a regional financial powerhouse. The McDonald family controls the flow of capital. They decide who gets the mortgage, who gets the small business loan, and which projects receive funding. In a capitalist society, the banker is king. And in Louisiana, the McDonalds wear the crown. They prove that Black wealth doesn't have to come through entertainment or athletics. Sometimes it comes from holding the keys to the vault, and holding them for 50 years straight without flinching. Number 2. The Miller family. If Cash Money negotiated the best deal in music history, Percy Master P. Miller built the best tank. The Miller family is the definitive example of a self-made dynasty that diversified faster and harder than anyone else, and did it in a way that actually stuck. Master P didn't just sell records, he built an entire parallel economy and ran it himself. The origin story alone is legendary. Armed with a $10,000 settlement check from a malpractice suit connected to his grandfather's death, he opened a record store in Richmond, California before eventually bringing the whole operation back to New Orleans. He started No Limit Records with a guerrilla marketing strategy, selling tapes out of the trunk of his car, bypassing every traditional gatekeeper in the industry. No radio relationships, no label backing, no industry favors. Just volume, hustle, and relentless execution. But here's what separates Master P from every other successful rapper of his era. He didn't stop at music. He launched No Limit Films, a clothing line, a sports management agency, a toy company. He understood vertical integration before he could have told you what the term meant. By owning the manufacturing, controlling the distribution, and running the marketing in-house, he kept nearly every dollar generated. When No Limit moved an estimated $400 million in revenue in 1998 alone, almost none of that leaked out to someone else's company. His net worth today is estimated between $200 million and $250 million. But the real asset is the family tree he built around that wealth. He raised his son Romeo Miller to be a mogul from childhood. Romeo has starred in television, played college basketball at USC, and now runs multiple businesses alongside his father, including food brands and entertainment ventures. Master P famously negotiated his way into NBA preseason appearances for Charlotte and Toronto, not because he needed the playing time, but because he understood the marketing value of showing up where people weren't expecting him. Number 1. The Miller family and an honest conversation about the Morials. Before we close this out, we have to acknowledge something. If we're measuring influence over the state of Louisiana as a whole, politically, structurally, generationally, we cannot ignore the Morial family. Ernest Dutch Morial was the first black mayor of New Orleans. His son Mark Morial served as mayor after him and is now the CEO of the National Urban League, one of the most powerful civil rights organizations in America. The access, the political infrastructure, and the policy-level influence this family commands is genuinely immeasurable. Many of the other families on this list were able to build what they built in part because of the environment the Morials helped create. That deserves to be said clearly. But when it comes to proven financial assets and documented business empire, the number 1 spot belongs to the Miller family. Here's why. Percy Miller broke a ceiling that most people didn't even know existed. He proved that a black family from the Calliope projects in New Orleans could generate $400 million in revenue in a single year and retain ownership of it all. He didn't license his brand to someone else's company. He didn't take the deal with strings attached. He built the infrastructure himself and kept the receipts. The Miller family's current holdings include real estate across Louisiana and California, a growing food empire under the Uncle P's brand, technology investments, and an enormous ongoing stream of intellectual property royalties. Master P isn't just a rapper from the 90s. He is the Louisiana equivalent of a tech founder who built the platform, scaled it himself, rejected the acquisition offers, and passed the equity directly to his children. In short, he turned a settlement check into a conglomerate. He turned a trunk full of tapes into a trust fund. He turned a tank into a dynasty. And that is exactly why the Millers sit at the very top. This concludes our journey through the richest black families that own Louisiana. Which of these dynasties impressed you the most? Was it the quiet resilience of the Chase family, the institutional power of the McDonalds, or the sheer relentless genius of Master P? Let us know in the comments below, and subscribe to Black Status for more deep dives into the world of hidden wealth.